Hello everyone, I'm Gareth, the Master974 back again today, and welcome to a video that I really didn't want to make, but here I am making it. And let's just get right into what's going on. I wanted to run Source 2013 single player on Linux for the Valve source code tutorial follow-up video I did about the gamepad UI, and it didn't work for me. Now, question one to ask the audience, is this an issue that you're experiencing? If you have a Steam Deck or if you game on a Linux operating system, please try launching Source 2013 single player with the upcoming beta branch, and just let me know if you actually can launch into the application or if you get the issue that I have, which is that it crashes as soon as it launches. Well, I say crashes, it's not really what happens, it's just like it closes out without really telling you anything of any use. So that's pretty much the issue in a nutshell. But I'm going to go over some of the stuff that I've tried and some of the information that I've been able to discover about this issue, at least on my end. Now, the only message of any kind that I have to work with is when trying to run hl2.sh or hl2 Linux, I get the error message, failed to load the launcher. That's it, just nothing else, nothing more to it. Nothing to do with the engine.so file, nothing to do with anything regarding the game content or anything like that. It just says failed to load the launcher for no reason. Don't know why. And even when attempting to launch a Source 2013 single player mod through debugging via Visual Studio Code, which is something that I wanted to do a Valve source code tutorial follow-up video about if the actual application wanted to work, that just repeats the same error message, and it doesn't even give any additional information about why the game crashes. So I don't have a single clue what's going on. So the only place in the Source 2013 code that was either released officially or unofficially, in other words, by looking into leaked code, that has this failed to load the launcher string was in the launcher code, and that says failed to load the launcher DLL, but that's supposed to create an error message box. And in my situation, that just doesn't happen. So I don't think it's anything to do with the launcher itself, although that could be the problem, but I really don't know what could be causing this to happen in the first place. Now, I know on the Arch Linux wiki, there's a little section talking about a libtm alloc fix, but I tried going through the instructions there and it hasn't actually helped. Now, there is only one time that I actually got hl2 Linux in particular to get an error message that wasn't failed to load the launcher, and it said something about libtcm alloc minimal.so.4 being missing or corrupted, even though that file existed. But in all the testing I've done since, I couldn't seem to get that error message to happen again. So I don't know what that was all about. And I've done all the simple stuff that you could think of, uninstalling and reinstalling Source 2013 single player, doesn't do anything. Opting into and out of the upcoming beta still causes the crash to happen. I even factory reset my Steam Deck twice, and the issue still happens. So I'm really at a loss for words as to what the hell's going on. And if, as I said earlier, anyone can tell me if they're experiencing this issue as well, or if it's just me, that could go a long way in determining what the hell's going on here. Now, there's one thing that I can say, which is something that is kind of a cop-out solution, which is to force Source 2013 single player to use Proton. But the thing is, when you do that, you actually cause Source 2013 single player to run using the Windows binaries as opposed to the Linux binaries. The issue I'm experiencing is with the Linux binaries, so saying, well, just use the Windows binaries instead and run them using Proton to get Source 2013 single player to work isn't actually an ideal solution. And it would actually kind of screw over any made for Linux source mods that have clients.so and server.so files that are the binaries that the mod needs to run. Because if you run it using Proton, it expects DLL files instead, and that just causes a conflict and the mod will crash instantly on launch. So how did I actually end up getting footage for the gamepad UI follow-up tutorial, you might be wondering? Well, that's because I had to go into gameinfo.txt and change the Steam app ID, whatever value that's supposed to be, that represents the game that the source mod needs to run. Just changing it from whatever the value is for Source 2013 single player to Source 2013 multiplayer. That way the mod actually runs under the Source 2013 multiplayer binaries, and that actually ended up causing the mod to launch without any issues. So it seems to be Source 2013 single player only. As I just said, I managed to load into Source 2013 multiplayer without any issues. I launched into Half-Life 2 without any issues, and I launched into Portal without any issues. Don't know what's going on. I would really appreciate some advice, some feedback, some suggestions, some knowledge as to what's going on here, because I'm at a loss for words, and at this point I've probably spent in excess of 6 hours trying to just mess around and figure out what's going on, try to find solutions, and nothing's worked. But I'm not going to waste any more of your time. I just want an answer as to what's going on here. If any of you have any ideas, please leave them in the comment section down below, and I hope to get the next Valve source code tutorial follow-up video out before the end of 2025, so I better get to work on that instead of bitching and moaning about this sort of stuff, which doesn't matter, to most people anyway. So, take care out there, peace out, see you later, have a great day, and hopefully you don't have any gaming issues on Linux like I have. See you next time, guys.